Okay, we're calling the meeting to order. Lisa.
As required by the Open Public Meetings Act, 1975, adequate notice this meeting was provided on April 6, 2023, by providing notice the express times with Huntington County Democrat and by posting of said notice in the Newspaper Building on the same date. Mayor Barsney?
Here.
Mr. Baylor? Mr. Beam?
Here.
Mr. Kenneth?
Here.
Ms. McDermott? Here.
Just for the record, I think Mr. Bale is going to be on 7.
Okay.
We stand for the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Can we all stand for a few minutes? We're doing a moment of silence for Ann Stone. She's the former mayor, very involved in the community for much of her life, loved this town. She passed away on Saturday, so just do a moment of silence for her, please. Thank you. And then also, I'd like to make a motion, we adopt a proclamation for Ann. Read it as whereas Ann Stone served her hometown of Greenwich Township, Warren County with distinction for over 50 years. Whereas in 1970 and 1981, Ann Stone served on the Greenwich Township Board of Education, was president for 6 years. Whereas in 1981 and 1990, Ann Stone served on the Greenwich Township Committee, being the first female to be elected at Greenwich and serving in a capacity for 6 years. Whereas 1992-1993, Ann Stone served as the governor's aide in the Office of Constituent Relations under Governor Florio. And whereas from 1989 to 91, Ann Stone served as a Warren County freeholder and director of the board in 1991. Whereas from 1994 to 1997, Ann Stone served as Warren County freeholder, serving as director in 1997. Whereas from 1997 to 2000, Ann Stone again served as Warren County freeholder, serving again as director in 2000. Whereas 2004, Ann Stone was appointed to the Warren County Tax Board, and whereas from 2004 to 2006, Ann Stone was appointed to the Warren County Board of Elections, and whereas Ann Stone was a founding member of the Greenwood Township Historic Society, established in 1985, and was a life member. Whereas Ann Stone was appointed Greenwich Township Senior Coordinator, a position she held for 15 years. Whereas Ann's tireless dedication to public service was always rooted in her deep commitment to helping her community. Now therefore be it resolved, the mayor and the township committee of the township of Greenwich will hereby acknowledge Ann Stone's dedication and service to the residents of township of Greenwich. And I think that pretty much summarizes her. She absolutely loved Greenwich. And she served, I think, in every capacity she could. And you know, just all around good person. So with that, I make the motion that we adopt this proclamation.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes,
Lily, you have something you want to say?
and the Historic Society would like to, since they're going to in May, the end of May, do the dedication of the 3 benches that they had purchased for the park. They'd like to know if they could add one more bench for Ann and do it all at that one time. The 4 benches at once.
Can you make it as a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to allow them to purchase one more.
I'll
and add
second.
one for her.
Anybody want to comment on it, discuss it? But I think typically, I couldn't remember, Lily and I talked about this because she had said they wanted to do it. I think we normally kick this back to the Open Space Committee, but in this circumstance, I didn't really feel.
Yeah, nobody's gonna, yeah.
For it, so,
Yeah.
and we want to be able to get it done in May, so.
Right.
Is everybody okay with that? Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes,
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes,
okay. I guess now we go to the budget. Anybody else have anything to bring up? Well, you good right now?
Good.
Mayor, Friday, would you like the flags, Greenwich flags at House Top for service for Friday?
Yeah.
For today?
Yeah, please, yeah. I will be out of town, so I won't be available to attend. I don't know if anybody else has any intention to go, but. Okay, budget. Who's bringing us
I
bad
don't know,
news?
but we got 2 guys over there.
So here's the news. Since our last meeting that we had a couple weeks ago now, which, you know, at that time, we were both above the appropriation cap and the levy cap. We've done a lot of work with the budget. You know, Shannon, Lisa, your department heads, ourselves, and obviously the governing body to get us to a point where now we're below both of the appropriation and tax levy cap. So currently for appropriations, we're about $54,000 below the appropriation cap. And for the tax levy cap, we're about $25,000 below. Currently, what we're looking at is a 7-cent tax increase, which equates to, for the average taxpayer, about $191 a year, or $16.16 per month. I know we've cut a lot out. So I don't know where you all would like to be as far as the tax increase goes this year. Excuse me, thought I muted this. But right now we're at 7 cents. So a tax point for you is about $59,300. So
What was that last number?
$59,300 is about a tax point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar with that.
So, yep, it's right around the same, similar to what it was last year at least. So I guess the first question that I have for all of you is, where would you like to be as far as the tax increase?
Well,
Would
Seven?
somebody talk to me about
7.
what that includes in this right
Okay,
now?
hold on, and then what is that on an average home of?
Average home valued at $272,000. That's $191 per year, or $16.16 per month.
And Bill, I don't know if you heard that, keeping in mind the county's flat, they're not increasing.
I know that. Yeah.
And we have no idea what the school is going to do. I know no matter what they do, they said there's gonna be future cuts, so, but again, that's their problem, you know. I just think 7 cents is way too high, and I would like to see a 3.5 cent tops. So we gotta find a way of cutting, this is my opinion, cutting that in half. That's $191 a year, you know. People out there working, you know, that's not a lot of money, but for senior citizens that are on fixed, you know.
Yeah, 7 is high. We don't really have a spending problem in this township. We obviously have a revenue problem.
Right.
You have a
Correct.
revenue problem. You know, going into this year, there were two things that hit that kind of created the storm of where you're at right now. You have a few costs that have gone up that are completely not in your control. We look at health insurance. Health insurance is up 55,000 over last year. That's one tax point, okay? PFRS, your police and fire retirement, that's up 71,000. Again, no control, there's another 1.5. PERS is up 10,000. So between the three of those items, you're looking at a 2.5 cent increase before you even get out of the gates.
Right, and I'd also like to add that you had the fire hydrant services, which have, it's a new fee, I guess, that we're having to pay, which we've been informed of, that it's, at least, forgive me, it's calculated by hydrant, and it's, what is it, $160 something
$164 a hydrant per quarter.
per quarter, so the calculated amount of that comes out to 114,000, whereas last year it was 52,000 or so. But we're looking, I guess there was more than that, but currently, I guess Mike is looking into that.
We're still battling a bill that we feel should be reduced because of hydrants not working.
Right.
So what was the cost per hydrant last year? In 2022, hydrant cost,
Actually, I think we budgeted 120 last year.
And we still are obligated for another 2.5 points just on contractual obligations besides what you just spoke about too?
Well, there's more if you want, you know.
so hold on, let's go back to the 2.5 or 3 cents. We got health insurance. Then we have pension.
Health insurance was up 55,000. And the two pensions combined were up about 82,000.
So 82 and 55 is 137,000. And we get what, 59,000?
59,300, yep.
Okay.
Never didn't step in to solve anything health like for the school districts, and he chipped in for some for the teachers, I think.
I missed the first part of that.
For the health benefits, the increase that we got. I think for teachers, the governor stepped in and
No,
Need some of that.
yeah, I'm not aware.
What are you gonna do for municipalities?
The only thing they're allowing you to do in a municipality is if your health benefits lines exceeded 3.5% increase, which they pretty much all did, they're allowing you to put the difference outside cap so that it reduces your expenditure cap issues. That, because if you had to put it all inside, it would eat up your entire, COLA ordinance, 3.5% increase, and you'd be looking to cut things right away.
So,
They are bringing it back inside cap next year,
Right, so the problem
But there-
reoccurs.
but there may be a cap exception for it. They may give you a little bit of leeway to help you get through next year.
so right now, what we're looking at is if we go 7 cents, that's an extra $420,000 roughly, right? That's what we're talking about raising taxes for.
Yeah.
If we go down to 3.5, we're talking 220.
I don't think you can go to 3.5, and I'll tell you why. The other piece of it is your debt. Right? We went out to bond for the new police and fire. That came on this year. That's,
What do you feel is the lowest we can go? You really feel 7's where you gotta stay?
if you could find a cent to cut out of the budget, I'm all ears
that's where
to
I'm
get you
headed.
down to 6.
3.5%, and the cut from 7 cents to 3.5 cents. We're literally talking a reduction in workforce, because we don't have any big expenditures. We can't cut healthcare, you can't cut pension,
That's what we're saying.
you know,
You're
so we're literally to the point where
you're at items that you cannot cut.
yes.
The,
And that's the other problem, what I said earlier, is we have a revenue problem rather than a spending problem, is we had no fat to cut. We go through this every year. We keep cutting down to where the point where we can't function with.
and there's nothing in the budget that's egregious.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Well,
to make transfers from
And
it too.
the last 3 years, we've cut. And
Yeah.
which I knew that
That's
it
what's
was
coming back to
gonna
hurt
come
us.
back to bite us.
Yeah.
Where's the-
And now all of a sudden, not only are we cutting, we're asking departments to reduce 5%.
Mhm.
That same question's gonna roll around next year.
And the problem with that is I always
We do
say,
this year after year.
Right,
Yeah,
right, well,
there's nothing worse than paying more taxes and getting less service.
right.
right. So, and again, this is just, an opinion of mine and, and it's not meant to reflect negatively or anything, but. I brought it up the last 3 years, but. I knew it was gonna come back to bite us sooner or later. Even at one point each year, we were still in trouble this year. And it just. I just think that. I'm gonna throw this at you guys a little bit. Because, each and every year, you guys did great, you pat on the back, you got to where you needed to be, but you should have been telling us, no, you need to be making that extra point. Just to help. And I know what, you're here to pat us on the back when we get within that number.
To be fair, I think he has off the board.
Right. Well, but at the same rate, you guys did a great job, you did, and we didn't do a great job because we're now in a 7-cent problem. Had we had that one point the last 3 years, we might only be in a 4.5 cent problem.
But we've come in hold on 1 second, because we've come in year after year and we've given you the bad news up front.
Right,
And it's I don't vote on the budget, that's you.
nope.
So when we say, where do you want the rate to be? And you say, well, what do we need to do to get it down to 1
Right.
cent? We give you those options, right? If it was something where you wanted to be at 2 cents instead of 1 cent, somebody's got to raise a hand and say, no, we don't want 1, we want 2.
Right,
With that said, there are solutions and there are ways out of this, whether you like them or not. We'll figure that out, but we just want to talk about what you think.
I have a question.
You're still holding your beer.
Yes,
Can we not collect on open space for 1 year?
that's one of my solutions. for it.
And would that?
Not that you
help
wouldn't
us
collect
to-
on open space, but reducing it a
Okay,
penny
can we
or
do
a
that?
penny and a half. We ran the numbers earlier, and what you bring into the budget on an annual basis to pay for Thomas Stewart Park and to pay for grass cutting or what we have, we can still do that. Have a healthy surplus in open space, maybe not grow it as much as we were, but you're still collecting more than,
I
what
think
we're.
we should consider that at least this year.
Well, that went out to the voters. That was
Yeah.
2 cents at one time. and
There's a
4 cents.
range, yep.
Then it goes back to the voters. Ask them to reduce it. I would not take anything out of that open space, and you're gonna have the same argument from Brian.
Okay.
The voters voted for the 4 cents, and now we're gonna go against that?
Okay,
You
then we're
voted
gonna
for a
go
range,
seven.
or you
Then when
voted
we,
for?
well, I'd rather go for 7 then. You know,
And they're
but
gonna-
first, I wanna hear first what the department heads came up with and how much they reduced. Cause right now, I'm looking at a 0% increase in salaries for anybody that's not contractual. Okay, so that's where we're gonna go.
Okay.
And number 2, I might even look at salary reductions and maybe reduction in force. And if we have to cut the lawn every 10 or 15 days instead of once a week, we're gonna do it. But we're not taking 4 cents and feeding this budget when that money was voted on by the residents.
Well, you're not feeding the budget, you're just taking it out of the tax line item. It's not, it's
not
going back to
coming
the
back
residents.
us. We're not
It's
taking it, they're just. not
It was
taking it
dedicated
out.
for open space.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that, but it's not, we're not using that 2 cents to come back into here, it's just going away.
Where's it going?
It's just being held for 1 year, we're not doing it, and then we collect it next year. We just don't collect.
So we collect 6 cents next year?
No,
make
we go
up?
back to the 4. He said
But we're
that
using
it's
2
enough.
cents. We're using 100 and, what's it, 59,000, $130,000.
About 125.
Okay, then go back.
Yeah,
to
but we're
what
not
you said,
using it
and
though,
then-
you're just
Well, who's using it?
putting in a freeze on not collecting it.
What we're discussing is a reduction of the rate, which would you would collect more or fewer dollars.
Correct.
Right now, your reserve in open space fund is $715,000,
Okay,
okay? You put into there at the current rate of 4 cents, you'd be collecting $237,000 this year to put into there. And then you would take about 100,000 out to pay for Thomas Stewart. And you take another, what do we take, 25,000 out to pay for the grass cuttings and the maintenance of open space. Everything else stays in open space. So about half of what you collect is gonna stay in open space. The other half comes to the current fund to fund again, Thomas Stewart and maintenance.
it's
of the
still
park.
going against what the voters voted upon.
That's,
know?
again, these are the options that
Right.
we're gonna start laying out here.
Right. So let's hear what the department heads came up with and what they come up with to reduce their individual budgets,
Okay,
okay? So.
I'm not a department. head. And you're looking at me like I got
Well,
the
did they
answer.
discuss it with you or?
At least, Shannon.
I
mean, we-
You wanna go?
Well, we all took 5% like you told
They
us the
just
first
got-
time. You told us to
No,
take
we-
5%, but we actually cut more than 5%
We
out of,
took 29% out of some lines.
yeah.
To get where we are.
If you saw their first original sheet to what we have now, it's a huge difference.
So you guys are not looking at a line by line, where's the?
And you
budget sheet
saw
there?
that
This one?
already, what they reduced?
Yes,
With-
that's-
it was 7%.
What's percentage wise, what's that?
It's about a 10.79%. Yeah.
Lillian, just so that as a reminder,
Uh-huh.
what they gave you last month, we had
Also,
314,000 over
Right. No, I
inside the
know.
cap, and now it's 53,000 under.
No, I heard
So
that. I
that's
just
much more than a
asked.
5%. Just, yeah, if you wanna know individual lines, we have to go through them, but.
No, I just said, did you give that to them, but I guess.
I think when we discussed this, we gotta look at it not only how we're gonna get through this budget here this year. On every one of these decisions, how it's gonna affect it next year, we gotta start looking at, because I don't wanna be here next year again, talking 7 cents.
Well, I agree, and like I said, there's a couple of factors that are really driving this increase. That one is debt, and 2 are the uncontrollable costs that you have. All right, we outlined the 3 items that are driving it, plus the 4th is debt. And one of my suggestions would be to, and you're gonna want a class, tap into a little bit of deferred school tax. Because this is why we say stop using it to fund projects, because you're saving it for rainy days. And if it ain't raining in this budget, I don't know when it is, right? and ease that burden out over a few years.
We haven't
Don't
touched
hit
that
it.
in a couple of years.
No.
Because we have been really
We pulled back.
turned off by that.
Yes.
But
So now may be one of those times where we look to use a little bit more. Or we use a little bit more surplus than what we had, knowing that we have that in our back pocket if we need it next year. All right, and here's, when we put a budget together, we look at what you recovered and you really don't have as much to use. You used 600,000 in your budget last year. You recovered 624,000, so your surplus went up 24,000 last year. All right, in this year's budget, we're using 620,000. Okay, you could go up as high as 727,000. And that would be basically utilizing everything you could. But if you were to increase the deferred school tax, defer more, your surplus would go up and you can use more surplus. And you can offset this major increase over a period of years and not just hit it all in one year. Because we were ready to come into this budget knowing that we had new debt service in place, that we had to address that. So you were looking at, with all your other increases, possibly 4 cents. You're at 7. 4 of that is probably debt service and your other items, and then these other items here that we talked about, that's what's driving it up, and you can't cut any of that. So now you're in a position where, well, you know, we can use that and hopefully health benefits stabilize going into next year. PERS or pension starts flattening out or coming down. We don't know. That's the unknown. And that's what the unknown was coming into this budget, and now we're in this, where we're at.
I just was like, I kind of agree with Bill. I really don't like touching open space because I think that's a kind of like a promise made to the public. But this is also what's driving the problem with no revenue is we've been buying up so much. We have so much open space in farmland protection properties in this town. We don't make any money. That's our problem.
Right.
It's certainly not spending. I don't care who comes in, let's look at our budget and find some fact, because then if they do, feed it to me, because I haven't seen it. And we have a revenue problem. We have no real income in this. You can't live off of residences. A resident is a loser as soon as it's built, tax wise. And some of the highest properties in the township pay $18,000. That's one kid to go to Filster High School.
Right.
So, I mean, when you take out collectively the tax situation, I mean, those are not much, right? And people still paying for it. And we had nothing, literally nothing coming in. Now, I'm not proposing we go looking for places either, but I do wanna get to work, not that we have to talk tonight, on this area of need redevelopment, but that would at least be some money coming in.
Well, there's actually a lot of positive information flowing up that right here, right now.
Well, we gotta sit down and meet, we gotta get the planner, we gotta figure out how we're gonna handle that, because in general, we don't like meeting with developers. But I think that pilot is an exception, that the
Right.
area development. So I think we gotta put together, maybe next week, we can talk at the meeting about it. Like, set a date for the planner to be here. Form a subcommittee from here, so we don't have a quorum, have 2 people on it. And start meeting with these people and see what the proposals are, see where we wanna go with it, but. That's for next week, but.
But again, you're, even if it creates a small new revenue stream that it's 18 months, 2 years old.
Okay, absolutely.
Right. You know, so it's not like today fixed or not even a little.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything was to go on, it's still way down the road.
I think when it comes to revenue, if you're talking to residents, I think, now I'm sure there's some who disagree with what I'm gonna say. If you said $100 more in taxes or 150 for a warehouse that we're seeing, I think they said, I'll pay the 150.
Well, I've had quite a
I
few
think so.
people say that, sure.
I
I
would
mean,
too.
when it came up 2 years.
But at the same rate, I've also
I've
had.
had people call me and say, why don't you do it? I have.
Yeah,
too.
well, and I've had a lot of people too that.
That's
And
it.
it's probably not
Yeah,
balanced.
I've had
Say,
people,
no.
yeah, but
oh, what about radios?
But I think it's overwhelming, against it. And then, so I don't see us going that way of it, unless this room fills up with people saying we want warehouses, but.
I, you know.
and I don't know whether it's type of business, you know. No one, there were people who were opposed to having the park in their backyard.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there was,
Yeah.
there was, you're right.
Certainly no one wants the warehouse. We've had people opposed to affordable housing, look how many showed up. So I don't even know what you look for revenue wise, because there'll be people against it. I mean, so it comes down to, do you wanna maintain what you have and pay more for it? Or you're gonna change your thinking, you know, not us, I mean, the community.
Well, I think there's a percentage that's gonna complain, but I think for the most part, everybody's gonna understand that they've gotta pay more to maintain.
Yeah.
To keep.
Well, I agree, and I've always felt comfortable saying that, but I've never went for a 7%.
No, right. Well,
I've been
again,
here for 7 or 8 years now.
no, yeah, I hear you. I just,
And
I just
quite
think that-
honestly,
sooner or later, it's gotta be done.
I go shopping on Sunday and see a lot of elderly people. I wanna tell you, there are times, and my daughter comes with me. The people in front of me are elderly people buying the minimum of what they need. And they don't have it, and they gotta pick something out of it that I tell the cashier, give it to them and I pay
Well,
for it.
if they're that bad
That
off, they
breaks
should be
my
having their
heart.
taxes froze, but a lot of the seniors don't know that.
Right. And then that would even make us, but that breaks my heart. They
Yeah.
lived here their whole life, they should live here.
And again, I mean, I personally haven't necessarily seen that, but I don't wanna say that that's the Greenwich Township seniors. I mean,
Well, I don't know who they are, but it's. still
seniors
there.
are from all over up at ShopRite,
It's still.
you
there.
know. Phillipsburg, Lopap, they all the seniors share there. And again, yeah, it's a challenging situation, but I don't know, I think you got. You take the hit, I just don't see where else you can. To work it, I mean, I know, Bill, you had mentioned, you know, potential layoffs and stuff like that, and again, I don't wanna take the two latest people. That,
Well,
the officer or whatever, and say, hey, we had you leave your job in Newark, but we're sending you back there, you know, I don't wanna do that.
No, I don't wanna see any cops laid off, but there might be others. Let's talk about our
That's
stipend to
actually
the fire
Penny Ford for
department.
developer.
Let's talk about our stipend to the rescue and the fire department. At what point can we start charging the people that are using our services? That's 1.5 easily. 60 and I don't know, what do we pay you guys? 45,000, 35?
Around 50,
Around
53,
and
right?
60, that's 110,000. Okay, Joe, I would like to see your report, when you give us each month. You go out on fire calls, how many of those calls that you go out are directly for residents of Greenwich Township? You go out on 78, I can guarantee you 90% of those, if not 100%, are not for residents in Greenwich Township. I'm tired, you guys deserve it, but I'm tired of paying for people that don't live here for services. The rescue squad should be billing us, you know, my wife used the 911 and they came down with the ICU unit, my insurance company paid for that ICU unit. They should have paid for you guys too. We never got a bill, but you guys don't bill.
No, we don't bill.
So I think what we need to do is cut maybe the stipends in half this year for you guys, and then next year you're on your own. It will give you guys incentive to go out and figure out how to bill for your services.
I believe that'll give incentive that you'll be looking for another fire department.
Well, and I was gonna say you would fold the squad right away. We don't
Because we're-
have
we're
enough,
on shoestrings now.
we don't have enough calls. To support the billing aspect.
Oh, we got a bill,
No, I agree with you,
you
and
know,
we're
and
in the
Joe, you got a
process.
bill too.
And
You
Joe,
know.
actually, they're kind of in the process in motor vehicle accident billing. You know, they're working on that, they're working towards it. And we are working towards billing. But that process is long and challenging, and it changes the whole complexity of the squad. To the point where you may not survive. The volunteer end of it might be completely abolished.
Well. Then we get a service we gotta pay for it, you know.
You can't afford a police department, put 4 firefighters on 24 hours a day. 4 minimum. You're outlandish, Bill. You're outlandish. You think 1.6 is a lot for salaries now? Double the police department for a paid fire service. Come to reality, Bill.
All I know is,
Sorry.
I just spent a week
About
down
ready to
in,
walk out.
down south. And $1 million home paying $1,600 a year for municipal taxes. They got helicopters, they got paid fire departments. What the hell are we doing wrong in New Jersey? That's what I like to know.
They
Cause
have ratables. Too
Well,
much
I was gonna say-
NIMBY here. Not
for
my
the squad to
backyard.
do 24/7 with paid personnel, we've already done rough numbers, it's $288,000 a year payroll. You know, and that's just not, you won't get that on the revenue stream that we have. So it's a challenging situation. Now, the squad was planning to try to wean certain aspects off of town money, but I don't think it will ever be zero. You know, we were hoping to eventually pay for our own insurance and stuff, but again, that's, you know, that's 13,000. And stuff like that, you know, maybe eventually the workman's comp.
You gotta start billing for your service.
No, we're working in that
Same with the
direction.
fire
I
department.
hear what you're saying, but what I'm hearing him say is, they don't have that much of a call load, that even if they bill, what they get reimbursed is not gonna cover.
Not gonna cover it.
That's what he
But
said.
at least it'll be something towards.
And I know
Yeah.
Joe has been talking about trying to bill for the motor vehicle accidents, but. Which I have no problem with billing, but I do. You know what, I travel, you travel, we all travel. I expect where I'm at to be able to pick up a phone, dial 911 and get emergency help services, either police, fire, or rescue. And certainly people driving through on 78, I think, are entitled and deserving of that. But I have no problem billing for it, but. You know, when you're out of town, you expect people there to help you, so I have no problem paying to help people traveling through the township either, so.
Salary increases for employees this year? What does that come to?
I've done nothing, we've been on this road many times before.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not gonna have a 7 cent increase with a 4% salary increase for employees. That's not gonna happen. Well, I mean,
Go by percentage, what's 1%? On the non-contractual people, that's what we got.
You have your spreadsheet for that? I don't, I put everyone in at 3%. I don't have it off the top of my head.
So wherever 3% is.
You're not
a lot
gonna
of
go figure it out.
Or 1%.
And the salary ordinance. Go back to.
Chris, when is your open enrollment for insurance? Medical,
insurance?
yeah,
Usually October,
Yeah, October, November.
October, November.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the changes in the rule chapter 70, I haven't kept up with them as much as I used to, but are you still permitted to offer money in lieu of health benefits? So like if we said to an
Health
employee,
benefit waiver.
we give you $10,000 if you go on your wife's or your spouse's
Lower.
lower.
It's the greater of a computation or $5,000.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's something maybe we'd want, Bill always talked about that. I don't think we've done over here on the side.
that's,
I'm sorry, I got the sidebar. What was that?
We always talk, now you bring it up most of the time about offering incentives to get off of our plan.
Mhm.
And it is still legal to offer employees, say like $5,000 if you get off of our medical plan. So maybe we ought to, if we have to do an ordinance and everything on that, I guess, John?
I believe you do.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna assume we
I'm
have
writing it
to.
down so I can tell you what you
So
need to
maybe we
do.
could-
Not counting PD though, it actually falls to DPW. How many people on DPW? Yeah, I thought there was only one.
We have one
Oh, yeah.
DPW and the rest are police on healthcare.
Right.
That's
If
it.
I was having to take it, that'd be a point, a penny.
Right,
And it's based on what you make, and he doesn't, obviously, his salary doesn't compare to police salaries, but.
So Lillian works for Adams Township, they're using who?
Merit Team,
That's an agency,
it's a broker
a
that
broker?
gets that goes out
And shops,
yes.
okay.
And they would be interested in Greenwich if they wanted to join us. That would help Raritan because we're only 100 and something employees. Would take your employees with ours, that would help to reduce the rates. Like.
So can we at least begin that conversation?
Oh, yeah.
So can you
So,
give
I am gonna.
her the number and then next Thursday you can get an update?
Lily
on
and
it?
I actually spoke about it the other day, but
Have
we
you-
requested. an
And we can
updated-
change that at any time,
That's
I
what it was
believe.
for, when you-
No,
We
that's
can
a
change
different
color
one.
points.
Is that all right if I do that, make that?
It's still not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
we don't, you know, people don't need permission to start talking to people over things like that. I
We
mean,
just have to
that's what
get
we're
that
here for,
updated,
try to find that.
report,
Right.
Okay.
which is on its way, but it can take 5 weeks.
Can't make any promises or a contract.
Lisa, for the employees, what did you all input on a salary increase, 3 or 4?
3, there's
Right.
3%.
And what's this 3% equal?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, I could run it.
For
on my spreadsheet.
admin, what I had run
Total
for you guys.
DPW would be savings $8,912.
I don't know, last year was not much, it came out to like, I thought like $15,000.
Yeah, admin would be around 6,000.
I
Which is-
can't see giving any raises with the 7%, with a 7% increase. Mhm.
On the other side of that argument. All these employees that you don't wanna give a raise to are battling 8 and 9% inflation. You know, for them to stay flat is a little challenging too.
It's tough times.
I've got a revenue on here that I could tweak. Maybe 30,000. And then. Because your collection rate has been pretty steady, I could reduce the amount in reserve for uncollected taxes by another 15. So we're looking at 45, just as I sit here and just look at the parts that.
Where are you getting the first 30?
The first 30 is interest and costs on taxes. You're pretty consistent with where you were last year. Last year, we budgeted 25. This year we have 40 in there, but you collected 81 last year. So I could bring that up and squeeze it up to 70 from 40. It's really the only revenue left that I really have to play with. I mean, but it hurts you surplus wise because the more you anticipate in your budget, the less drops to the bottom line at year end. So we'll be, you know, crossing our fingers, hoping everything went well in all the other areas.
Well, when are we gonna hear about this, not to change, this part of the budget? When are we gonna hear about the municipal building? What's the shovel in the ground? What am I hearing?
We never even put the thing out, yeah.
I know. So what are we waiting for?
You asking me? We're
Warren
still
County
waiting
to
on
finish
Warren
the
County.
site plan.
What's the interest rate you're getting on that? You got the money in the bank, it's in capital. What interest rate are you getting on that?
A PNC off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can go look.
Please. Because if you're not spending any of the proceeds that came in at this point. Other than the 1.2 that bought off the old bonds. You could be sitting on a significant amount, you're sitting on a couple $1 million in there, earning interest at a higher interest rate. So
Right.
we could look to increase interest this year.
The only problem with that is I'm gonna assume every month that goes by the cost of construction.
That's a problem, and you also have to deal with arbitrage, because if you're just getting that money to sit on it.
Yeah.
Federal government's gonna wanna say if you don't spend that money in a
We're
shorter
certainly not
period of
doing
time. So it's nice to get the interest, but. There are strings attached with that too.
Have we heard anything lately back from Warren County? Cause I made a phone call on that. Have we gotten any answers?
No, the engineer got a hold of me. I was in a class and I've tried calling back. I think he might be on vacation over
Okay.
Easter here, so.
Because 2 out of 3 seemed like it was okay already.
Yeah, well, we
Actually,
We went through the
we
March.
agreed to do the signage, so.
We went through the March thing, so, and they don't meet till the end of the month, so we might not hear anything till next week. Or there at the end, of the month. Cause I think it was actually a budget meeting, the first one at the end of March, that I had a report. It was after the township meeting.
That could be part of the answer, but once they start spending money.
Chase left us 3.25 on the 3 month, CB,
Yeah.
well, 100,000 or more.
That's big, yeah, normally they're all like 1% and anymore,
That would be good.
1.2.
Okay.
So if you had to use some deferred tax money with what you just come up with 45,000?
Yep.
What's the number that you're talking about pulling there to bring us from 7 to 6?
Well, I'm afraid to say, cause I don't wanna take you down too low and. Again, it's, if I can get 2 cents out of not open space, deferred school tax. Mix it in with what we have here for the 45,000, that gets you 4.2 cents roughly. But we wean ourselves off a point a year of that deferred school tax, so next year when we come back. We don't hit it for 120,000, we hit it for 60,000.
Right.
And it weans that in a point over time. You know, cut it now and pay it back as time goes on. I don't like using that money.
No, right,
That is
right.
not my, but you're in a situation where you can use it and you have an option to use it.
We start talking about the interest on that.
Going back to deferred school tax.
Oh, deferred school.
We're just, if you have, rough math. If you're getting 2.5% interest, I don't know if you are, she's gonna come back with the number.
How much money's in there?
I gotta think it's like 5 million in there, right?
Should be, yeah.
So you're looking at 125,000 for the year of interest. If you don't spend the money, right? If you start working and you got big bills coming out of it. We'll estimate it at 100 or less, depending upon what the number is. When we started talking about that, we were at 2% interest for the interest rate. When we sold the bonds, we were at 4.1. That's how quickly it moved. And luckily you did it when you did it, because now you're pushing 5. So,
It's 1.41% with TD Bank. But I can call her tomorrow and discuss rates.
yep, I
Okay.
would not only call her, but think about reaching
How
out
much
to other
money's in there?
banks as well.
$8 million.
8 million.
8 million.
And that's all we get.
What's that, about 80,000 a year? 1.2?
112,000.
112,000.
So we can legitimately put money into the budget for that.
Well, we can put the 112 in, or a little less, because you
I
want.
put a little less.
Okay.
Yeah, you got
And then, let's see what you can come up with between now and next Thursday to see what bank's willing to give us more than 1.2.
Well, I can compare because right now we use PNC and I believe those interest rates are higher. With the accounts that we have there, so I can call her tomorrow and say, this is what PNC is offering. If not, we can just take the money out of TD Bank and put it into PNC. Cause that's where our other accounts are.
Bloomsbury that gave us that, do you remember?
offhand, I don't remember. But I would also look into 6-month CDs. If you're not gonna spend the money in 6 months and you're gonna get slightly better interest rate, put it in a 6-month CD.
Well, Chase is just offering a 3 month for 3.25 for 100,000 and up. I don't know if it's still going.
How much was
but-
it?
3.25.
3.25.
Yeah, I think that's what PNC is for 9 months, but I think,
Right, that's 9 months.
I think
but Chase
Providence
is
up
3
in
months.
Beaver is offering more for the 9 months. More than a 3 1/4, it might be a 3.5 or
Let's
3
look
3/4.
at one of
I can
those.
call them. We use them in Beaver as well,
Okay.
Providence. So, okay, I'll
Good.
talk to them tomorrow.
Somebody, I was telling about the 9 months that PNC was 3 1/4. The person said, I just bought a CD at the Provident was 3.5, it was more than PNC, so.
Right, and you don't have to change banks. I mean, if you have a CD that you can get through another bank, you just move the money,
Okay.
right? And keep the checking account open.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the CD liquidates, you bring it back in
Okay,
and start spending it. So, okay.
It's that easy to do?
Yes,
So we're talking if that 100 comes in, are we talking that's a penny and a half down from 7 cents to
Yes.
5.5?
My concern, like always, because we look forward,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know,
want.
if rates come back the other way, you're not gonna see that revenue next year,
Right,
right? So we'll be in another quandary
well,
going.
we won't
next
have
year.
the money next year.
We won't have that money
We'll be
next year.
spending it
That's
and-
true too.
Yeah.
So no going in, this is a one-time shot in the arm.
So you came up with 45,000,
Mhm.
roughly 15,000. If we have zero increase in salaries, that's a point.
Yes, sir.
And then we gotta say 100,000, 112,000, maybe a little bit more if we can get 3%. That's another point and a half. So that's 2.5 off the 7, brings us down to 4.5.
Mhm. Yep. And if I cut too much, I don't wanna get yelled at next year.
Well, that's 4.5 cents without using deferred.
I know,
tax.
No, no,
I
I'm
know,
listening.
I know.
I'm listening. I'm trying to digest
Yeah.
what Bill says because I don't wanna,
So that's 4.5 cents without using deferred school tax.
It is.
I can't get behind not giving the employees
I just,
a raise.
I don't think the morale
I
issue,
can't
the
either.
morale issue
We
would
have to
be
do something.
just crushing to save 15,000. I just don't see it either. That's where I'm at.
I think if you look at some of the salaries that we give the other employees, and if you look at like county employees in their departments, I mean, it's a little heavy on our side. You know, so,
Well, again, I don't know what the county salaries are, but you look at municipalities versus us, and we're not heavy on that side. You know, so,
County's always had a problem, with people leaving their road department, DPW going to municipality because of that.
In Greenwich, we're losing people that have been there 5, 10, 15 years because other municipalities are paying them 20 and 30,000 more.
where's that, Riley?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
losing people.
Well, that's just like in the private sector. If you're
Yes.
you want a bigger jump, you're gonna switch from your company to another company.
No, that,
Well,
And it's
that's
not-
the theory of some places, right? I mean, that's what Warren County's theory is.
Right.
Let somebody leave, then we bring somebody in, start them down at the bottom of their row again.
right.
But I don't know if that turnover really pays off in the long run when it comes to morale and end result. Although I have to say that county road department did work up on Maple Drive this past year by my house, I saw, and I thought they did a hell of a job.
yeah, that's the construction crew, that's a group of specialized.
Yeah.
You don't see a real big turnover in that group
They did a
because they
nice
get
job.
paid,
And they was clean, at the end of the day, everything was cleaned up,
right?
the road was, you know,
Doesn't
it was
matter what they're gonna
you can't come back the next day, but they cleaned it up nice, they did great work and stuff, but.
Yeah, we still get some benefits. We did away with them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the other thing, I don't know what salary you're looking at, like with the road county, because they probably have steps, 8 or 9 steps or something. And probably everybody's on 1 or 2, because they keep leaving. So what are we at? Let's put the raises back in, because it sounds like there's 3 people kind of in favor of it.
It was 3%?
Yeah.
In favor of 3%
Interest.
Yeah.
On bank interest. So we're gonna add 100,000 to the bank interest. We reduced,
You wanna cut to 2% to save, well,
I don't
you
wanna
save
do
$5,000,
anything.
right? 15,000.
But I don't wanna pay 7.
Huh?
I don't wanna pay 7
what
cents.
is that?
I don't wanna
Annual.
bill people with 7.
Or, no, I don't wanna do that either.
124. Okay. So 100,000 of bank interest. 30,000 more of interest on taxes. A reduction of 15,000 from your reserve for uncollected taxes. It brings you down to a 4.6 cent increase, which is $124 for the year. $10 a month.
I'd like to get it down to 100.
Yeah, but you know, with, well, 137,000
Yeah.
just for health insurance and pensions.
Maybe 120,
Oh, yeah,
120 a year,
So, I mean,
120.
$10 a month increase, and
$10.58.
it would be on the average, only $30.
$40 a quarter.
A quarter
yeah,
Before school,
before.
because the school's gonna go.
Yeah.
and I believe they're gonna ask for a referendum too, so.
I thought that, I heard that was gonna be put off a year.
I thought it was too late to do it this year.
Yeah.
Is it? But they got November, don't
Yeah,
they?
for November, but I guess they haven't.
Yeah, I think they have, I think they have time for November.
Yeah, he said.
Well, and I'm gonna speak up here, sharing finances and things like that, because Bill, your house is probably worth more than the 277 and change.
Right.
You know, I don't know what number it
Right,
is
yeah.
and everything, and my house is half of that. And if we're talking about longtime senior residents and things like that, most of that group is in my house, not your house, not Kennedy Mills, not, you know, and stuff
Because you know
like
why?
Well, in my house.
They're moving out of my neighborhood, okay? And they're coming in and they're paying for something that I certainly can never afford.
that. No, exactly, that's the flip side to the argument.
Right,
Right now, there's only 5 homes in Greenwich Township, actually, I think it's down 4, that are for sale. And none of them are any of the bigger homes right now, because they're gone in 30, 40 days.
Right, right.
You know, it's some of the older dilapidated homes and things of that nature. Cause I don't know if you all noticed, the one
Oh,
outside
yeah.
here's under contract.
Under contract.
And that went for a lot of money.
Mm.
You know, I was just like, whoa, but anyway, so. The folks that are coming in, are there a couple of folks that might be driven out? Sure.
Yeah.
The people that are in, let's just say, old school Greenwich, you know, pre-development. What'd you just say, $10 a month on 277,000? That's a $5 a month hit to me.
right.
Yeah,
You know, I'm not gonna notice it. The
Well,
county stay flat,
and
whatever the
again-
school is.
like you said, the seniors should, and we should really make sure they get notice of that freeze, they get that freeze if their income's low enough. And I know people miss it, because if you remember the 100-year-old lady who lived next to me for years, they talked about, one thing I'm talking about, she's in her 90s, she never knew about the program, never applied to freeze it. She paid for, she could have had it for 10 or 15 years before that,
Right.
from when the program started. And she
Well,
never knew enough to apply.
So
She
maybe
never
we,
applied. She
you know,
got it.
maybe we make an effort to reach out to that.
Yeah.
We should,
That
and
part
maybe
of the
have
population.
the tax assessor come in and the tax collector maybe
Yeah,
one evening.
taxes.
Put it in with the tax bill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and find out to solve that problem, because, you know,
We still
again,
get the money from the state. They
yeah, we get the money,
I
from
know
right,
they-
right, we don't lose
They
money.
get the money.
And they still have to pay
Right.
whatever the increase is, and they get a rebate, you know.
Yes, yeah.
Sometimes the state plays with that. I can remember my father saying, we're supposed to get it in May, and they didn't get it till like February that following.
well, we're
year.
just getting, they don't call it the homestead rebate right now.
The state owes money from you?
But, you know,
Years behind.
the anchorage
Yeah,
fall
yeah,
now, but I'm getting my 2019,
Yeah,
it's
they're-
2023.
Yeah,
Right.
they're behind.
Yeah, so I mean, they're a little behind. Well, I was pleased to see I got $1,500 deposited right into my checking account. I thrilled me to death.
Right, right.
I just wanna, just to bring everything, you know, Andrew and I are sitting here playing with the numbers. Between your debt service and those 3 items that we talked about at the start of this, that's a $332,000 increase over last year. Between
That's
debt
five-
service,
That's 5
so
cents.
that's 4 items, it's
Yeah.
5.6 cents of your 7 cents that we started with.
Right,
So the rest of your budget was going up 1.4 cents.
it's
Just-
5.6?
That's 5.6 cents, 332,000.
Again, if, and it's a big if, that crowd of 20 show up here. You know, that's exactly what you explained to them,
Right, exactly.
you know, and say, look, you know,
Things you
we
can't
understand that 6, 7 points is tough, but this is why.
Right.
We're at 1.4, but contact the state obligations that we're required to do because of healthcare, this and that, it was 5. It doesn't go away, that's what it is. Yeah, and I know, Bill, you're over there fighting to get it down, but I just don't see it.
Right,
And we shouldn't feel guilty about it because it was completely out of our hands.
right.
What I'm more concerned about than the 7 cents this year is I don't wanna be sitting here next year.
Well,
Having come and say,
yeah,
"Thank you, 5
no.
or 6 cents."
And my thought process, anything under 7 cents right now is only gonna put us in a deeper hole next year.
Well, here's the thing that's
I agree with that.
kind of nice about this. You've got about 200,000 more in debt service this year. That should be built in after this year and over the life of your project. Cause that's why we tinker with the numbers when we do the bond sale. Make sure you have a level debt service over time. Unless you add more debt and start paying back more bands, you're gonna be in a position where your debt service should be nice and level. What the unknowns are just like this year, health benefits, pension, right? So if we took 200 out of the equation next year, we're gonna come in not at 7 cents, but, you know,
Right. And so obviously then we as a group have our homework made out, which sounds like you're already working on the healthcare issue. Hopefully we can get a better deal. Not necessarily this year, maybe half of this year, but, so there's a couple of things that we can do. And again, not department wise or any wise, there's really not, 1.4 is. That's incredibly low, as a
Well, yeah,
budget.
when you
per
look
se.
at
Right,
that.
right,
Well,
you
to
know-
be fair, if it only came in at this point 1.6, we probably would go back up to the 2 cents.
Sure.
because
right,
we cut things so short this time because of that,
Right.
so.
So, but again, maybe we find 50 grand in healthcare savings next year.
Well, again, that's why even though you say won't realize it for a year and a half, 2 years, we gotta get to work on this area.
Absolutely,
And if you can grab 60 or $100,000 in taxes from a
right.
couple of businesses. That also.
Well, with that being said, like I said, I don't wanna take a lot of time out, but we also have a commitment to buy the Dennis auction. And he's coming in there to improve that property, and that'll probably take place in the next 6 to 8 months, probably be on the rateable list for next year.
And I was looking, is the old Greenwich in for sale? Cause I saw that when I was looking at.
I believe there's some property up there or something that's for sale, I'm not
But
sure,
that would be a nice,
the whole package or whatever.
something for some,
Right.
business.
And again, without getting into. I told him I can't talk to him because then. I have to exclude myself in the land use board, and so I can't talk to you about what we, certain things and everything else. But I want him to aggressively go after Mr. Dominguez. And not put that in preservation and build them 22 houses. The mansions at Alamucci or whatever they call that development. Because you're looking at $13,000-14,000 a home times 20.
But again, that's including
It's
school
gonna
tax.
be, yeah, if you get 4-bedroom
And you're
houses,
losing
they're
that in
coming with
schools.
kids, and it's gonna wipe it out.
Right, well,
So there's gonna be no tax gain. over it.
Well, there'll be a little, but you're right, it could potentially, but it's a potential revenue.
Right down. South Main Street here, right before you get to the school.
Oh, okay.
I just don't understand why somebody's offering some serious coin. And he wants to put it in preservation and serious coin less. I don't understand that math, but that's a whole nother ballgame. But yeah, that's what Kenny.
So here's an offer to,
Oh, yeah, Dominguez gladly turned down the first offer,
yeah,
yeah, and I mean, if we're talking substantial difference, but we don't wanna get into that conversation while we're here.
So where are we at with this budget? We're gonna let them come back with at the, what are we at now?
Well, what'd you say, 5.5 without killing ourselves?
0.46 cent increase.
0.46.
4.6.
Well, I'm sorry, yes, 4.6,
With raises.
yes.
And that's not. We don't know how much interest we're getting, we're anticipating
We're
100,000.
gonna put 100,000 in for now,
Okay.
and then we'll see what we come back at. You want to 100 or 100, add 100. Right, cause we already had it in for,
We had 15 for regular interest.
right,
Yeah.
so we'll anticipate more this year, 100,000 more. And then that's an additional 30,000 as well on interest on taxes. And we didn't cut anything out of the budget other than reduce the reserve for uncollected taxes by 15,000. Which I'm comfortable with because they're pretty consistent year over year.
And we're not using the school.
So far, I do not
So
have it
far,
in
I
here.
don't- I hate that.
Yeah.
I like
I
it,
do too.
I
but
like it as
it's
I like to know that it's there,
It's there, it's your
but I don't,
whoopee.
I don't take the action to use it. Thank you.
So Brian, we started out at 7 cents?
Mhm.
Okay, so give him a recap.
So we started out at 7 cents, that meant $191 to the average local taxpayer increase for the year.
Okay.
We're down to 4.6 cent increase, which is $124 for the year. But there are four items that really are driving the increase, and they are your health insurance, your pension for police, your pension for employees, and the debt service that we entered into. Those four items alone would increase this year over last year 5.6 cents. So for you to be at 4.6 cents right now, I think we're stretching it, but I'm not gonna come out and say you guys did a terrible job. You know, we bang our heads against the table year after year, but I think I'd be comfortable at 5.6 cents, but that's me. Only because you have these costs that are built in that you cannot do anything with.
Explain to them about that, the things we have no control over. Was 3 our budget only went up by 1.6% on that, but we can, 1.4%.
Right,
What we can
1.6%,
control.
yep.
What's out of our control was
Yeah,
out of our
the
control.
healthcare,
Yeah,
I mean, my school just left and went to Aetna last week.
Is that right?
Yeah,
How did you do that without
They got a-
enrollment?
they got a broker.
Okay.
Yeah,
how many employees?
a lot more than 14.
Yes, I
So,
know. Right.
The healthcare, what is it, 90
We're
grand?
like the little guy in general, the little guy always gets beat up, we're like the little guy in government, we get beat up.
Yeah, 80 something.
Yeah,
Just to recap, your health insurance went up
I think they fire their
55,000.
employees.
okay,
The tax point is 59,200.
okay.
So that went up 55,000. Hers went up 10,000 and police and fire went up 71,000. And your debt service was up about 194,000.
So Brian, Shannon's gonna be calling around banks tomorrow to pull out the money out of TD Bank at one point.
I'm gonna call TD Bank first, cause,
Right.
to see if they could offer us, or what they can offer us.
Right.
And then compare to what PNC is giving us, and then if it's not, I'll call the other banks too to see what I can get.
My CFO just suggested First Bank.
And I have
Right,
that
you got
down,
First
so.
Bank, there's Ocean Bank, there's a ton of banks out there.
Did we,
He made that move for Bloomsbury Health.
were you able to find out from like Scott, Rob,
Find out.
maybe we could join with OHAP? I don't know if they have.
No, but I did, I had a meeting with a healthcare broker, and they have requested that we get that updated claims report. So I asked Bob if in advance of this meeting, if he would authorize that I send that, so that's gone out. That can take 3 to 5 weeks, they said.
Maybe we get lucky.
But Lillian has another broker, she was gonna get me the information for them, so we'll have another meeting and whatever, you know, we'll send out a
I
thing.
was just gonna say, whatever happened with the school, talking to the school about it. I thought-
Before you call around
They're, yeah,
tomorrow,
they're, you
we're
know,
gonna check and see
They
if you
have-
have to go out for
they have-
RFP for that.
yeah,
For-
but I don't know.
I don't think
Just
we're allowed
like-
to win.
A
Yeah,
bunch of banks for their
yes,
best rate,
That
so
was
that
the thing I got.
you're not just calling one up and
I
saying,
think
hey, let's work with you.
That's
But
it.
why
Well,
can't we
we
get
went
that? I
up.
can ask again.
Yeah.
The rates
But
were-
Yeah.
So now it's a different,
Yeah.
it's a different
They've had
animal.
this-
Yeah.
I think they've had it.
So
for
we'll
years.
find that answer out before you do any calls.
Okay,
I don't want you to.
Yeah. I was just
What are
thinking
you
the same thing.
finding out?
I don't know if you have to go out for an RFP to solicit rates, because you can't just go to one bank and say, hey, what's your rate? Let's lock in here. But that'll drive the rates up.
Mhm.
If you go out and you solicit 10 banks, they might get competitive and say, well, we'll give you 3.5.
So
Bill, I was just saying that we did go out for RFP,
Right.
and we were looking into banking, but unfortunately, that's when the rates were totally tanked, so it's time to do it
Yeah,
again.
do it again,
Yeah,
then,
we didn't make a
If you-
move because they
Yeah,
couldn't.
we
make
didn't
it.
do that process again, yeah.
Do we need to authorize an RFP tonight or just sometime?
Sure, it
Yeah.
doesn't hurt.
Yep,
We could always reaffirm it or change it up at the next, TC meeting.
No, right.
The documents are prepared, we just have to change the dates and.
And the
Yeah.
wording,
Send it
I
out
think we
again.
went out for payroll services, I think that's what
That's
was
right.
included, yeah.
We were
So we just
asking
have
for all
to-
kinds of stuff, trying to get things for free and
Yeah,
didn't work out.
oh, we can send it to like Provident and stuff.
They said
Well,
we should go out for an RFP, solicit bank.
Yeah, it's
He's gonna check into that.
We didn't
Well,
still have that conversation.
Should we authorize an RFP tonight?
Yeah, but when the, all these are a motion for that.
Yeah, because we have the documents, we just have to update them a bit, so.
Yep.
Okay.
And then hopefully by next Thursday, we can,
It's gonna drive people.
We'll make that motion.
I'll make a motion to go.
We have a motion on the floor.
Make a motion for RFP for, the
Banking
capital
services.
money that we have currently,
Very high sensors.
for the highest interest rate we can find out.
I'll second that. Anybody have any questions, comments, discussion on it? You understand what we're doing, Brian, since you came
Yeah.
tonight?
Yep.
my only suggestion is if you have to do it for a time period, it's 6 months.
6 months or less.
Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Baylor?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
So we're at,
Did you have anything you wanted to say, since you came in late? Was there anything you were planning on?
I don't know, you got it down at least.
Question, well, Brian, this was just an idea of mine, and I think we might have had the conversation already, but some people thought that the business would be very anti that because it would be driving people across the bow out, but as a community, can we add a sales tax to the local retail establishments?
No.
no,
So,
they adopted and then it makes
no,
so.
but,
Yeah.
Bill, the reason
I've
that
never
that
seen
looks
that.
that way is.
Okay.
because-
Yeah, like, well, I mean, I certainly see it elsewhere.
So they're banking. Whereas.
I don't know.
like, if We don't spend.
But let's just say,
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Take another 500 from
if I Uber somebody to Newark Airport,
the.
I'm charged $2.50 tax
I know.
by Newark Airport.
But
If I take somebody to Newark, I'm charged $1.25.
You're thinking the airport has a local use.
Yeah. And let's just, let's talk penny because it keeps the math, but I mean, it could be as low as half of it. I mean, because what's the retail sales here in our community? Yeah, 500 million?
For what?
A use tax, a local use tax on the retail money here, in addition to, they collect the sales tax.
Right,
Could in our municipality collect a use tax?
I know other states have it.
Well, that's kind of the
Right.
conversation we're having here, and I just explained two scenarios where Newark Airport. And I'm sure it's with the taxis too, they get paid $2.50 from anybody who taxis or Uber somebody in there. And Newark, the municipality itself, gets $1.25, and that's a use tax.
How about hotel rooms?
You collected 29,000
Have
last
we raised
year,
that recently?
hotel fees.
I mean, everything else is going up. Have
But I don't know
we
if that's established by you or the state.
looked into
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, right.
We
Yeah.
can.
But with that being said, I mean, is that something that
We'll
anybody
look
else has
into it.
ever approached? Look,
No,
I mean, cause I don't ever remember discussing raising it. I'm here for 7, 8 years. I mean, everything else is going up. Why shouldn't that?
Right, right.
I think it might be set by the state because I get an email from them once a month,
Yeah,
them telling us what
Yeah.
we're collecting. So they must collect and then give us our share, I think.
Oh, through the sales tax.
Flow through, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll look into it. I think so. So-
I charge as an administrative fee.
yep, and they gave you a one-time revenue for your budget this year, but they're pulling it out next year, so. That's another 16,000 next year that will be in the hole.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're saying next year is gonna be
Well, it could be a challenge depending upon where health benefits come out again.
Yeah, so you gotta.
Pension comes
Well,
out.
I turn
so.
65 in June. And when I retire, I will definitely be utilizing that freeze.
Is that what happens at 65?
65, yeah,
And retired.
just one person.
Yeah, my house.
No, you don't have to be retired technically.
Oh, I'm 65.
Well, your household income has to be, I think now it's like 92 or 94,000, something like that.
Sweet, we'll be freezing my rate next year,
Yeah.
in September. I got that beat.
Somebody be here next month, say, no wonder you're okay with 7.
You're gonna have to stay on and be the voice of the.
Something like 92 or 94 between the two, yeah. So can we talk about this, court sheet that we got in front of us? So we had total deposits from our fines of $357,000. Okay? So even with the $357,000 that we collected, we still owe OHAD $7,100. Am I reading it right?
Yes. Well, you gotta remember DMV of that 356 and it gets 200,000 of
Oh,
it.
I understand
The
that.
county,
Yeah.
you know, so it comes right down to the municipal portion. We have an agreement in place that even though we use more than half the court, we're only paying for half the court. And anything that they didn't accommodate, and I just did the math, and I'm not gonna try to intentionally pick on the chief here or anything else like that. I took, because, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but the ticket for the trucks is $188, give or take.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that's what somebody told me, but see, my math's wrong because it's the way the proportion is, it's only 40 more tickets. Yeah, but it's really not that true because we're only getting such a small portion of it.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, maybe it's only 120 more tickets,
Well,
and we would have been
the
zero.
one thing we do have to look forward to is if we get everything passed with the township ordinance on the county roads, trucking tickets, so more money comes in that way. I know you can't look at it as a revenue.
Well, we're not really looking at it, we're looking at it as a break-even source. you
Right,
know?
no, I'm looking at it as a quality of life issue.
Yeah, well,
Right.
no, there you go. That's better phrasing,
And we
right?
need better enforcement and we need strict enforcement and high fines.
There you go, yep. I like that phrasing. So it's, yeah, but that's it, Bill, so I mean, that's not horrible, because actually, what did we build into? Well, excuse me, what did we build into our budget?
We had 40,000 in there.
40,000 into
Yeah,
the budget,
last
and
year
we're
was
only doing,
29,000.
Yeah.
it was what,
It was 29,000 that we owed.
last year?
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
year, we only owe 7,000,
It's
so
big
that's,
improvement.
that's
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 why I gave
huge,
you both, so that you could see.
that's
both.
huge. So did you all grab some money out of that line? And distribute it back in or not?
For this year?
Yeah, we took money out of that.
Okay,
I think we have it down to 15 now.
Yeah,
okay, all right,
I mean, more people are driving now too. We had dealt with COVID.
right.
Yeah.
So, all right, so that's actually, that was kind of a win, without knowing a win.
That was worth waiting for.
Right.
Anybody have anything else?
So we're gonna vote on either 4.6 is the bare min or 5.6, so we don't kill ourselves next year. Is that,
What's the
Way out there
deadline?
in this-
When do we have to
Or
adopt
seven.
this? budget?
or in 7 and.
7.
Yeah.
31st, we had to.
March 31st or the first meeting thereafter, so. The state has not fined anybody or held anything against anyone.
Yeah,
Just to
Going
make you
late.
guys feel a little bit better, Bloomsbury last year out of pocket, as tiny as we are, but with no police, well, we have state police, 43,000.
cost.
That was the hit to us for our court, for our shed court. So 7,000 for this town is
Talk
awesome.
about truck problems, I wouldn't done get gas and break here at Pico, that's been a problem. One guy actually left his trailer, left, took the tractor wherever he went.
Yeah.
He left alongside the
That's horrible in the morning. The 2 and 3 parked along each other. I count like 20 every morning.
That's a 40-year problem.
It's ridiculous.
Well, actually, thankfully, the STEM brothers and some work that lots of people have done. That problem is about to go up.
It's gotta get better.
I had a guy,
Gotta get better.
tractor trailer came out of the truck stop in America, then he stopped, come right in front of me on 173.
Yeah, they don't
I had to
care.
lock up the brakes.
They don't care.
Sicko.
I was going to stay at 45, he came out of there, maybe at 45 miles an hour.
Hey, Bob,
No.
I'm surprised you didn't hear.
Well,
from me
maybe
last
On
night.
the, they're allowing Mr. Stem to pull the curb line.
I was telling you,
Two foot.
coming up so far.
You're only 2 foot on the side.
And I'm doing the third.
You're letting them pull the curb line.
He goes to go
Alright,
around.
I didn't see that.
Well, there's new curbing, but that's not part of this project. That's part of, let's say, project. Yeah, that, I seen the plans and it's approved.
I'll bring it up.
I'm like, you're not supposed to be here. And he went around me.
Anything else?
He kicked me off. It's so bad. But it's like, you're gonna get yourself running. I'm like, I don't care, my boss house, come out and know who it is, and unbelievable. He didn't even, and then he turned left. No.
So it's either gonna be 5.6, was it? Or maybe 4.6, right? Or do we fill the cushion at 5? What's the 5.6 hit on the whole?
5.6.
Is it?
125, 127.50 or something like that, or
Right.
127 or something.
To be about $12 versus $10 a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Right, I think it was 5.6. You know?
Well, as Paul said, whether it's 20 or 30 people, you're gonna get beat up over 4.6 or 5.6 or 7.
151.
151 at 5.6.
Oh, that's right, that's 1.6, yeah. You gotta take a beating from people. This is the highest I've ever voted for.
And what was it, 4.6?
I think.
124, I think.
The highest.
124.
I don't know, Bob, I don't think so.
You think we want, I don't think we ever went this high.
I don't either.
No, we've never gone this
I
high,
think we
but
went
I
4
don't.
cents one year.
I think we were, yeah, I think we were at least 4
1
cents. Because you even had a resident come in and compliment you that they knew it was coming, and in order to provide the service, they thought they were getting billed too low, so they were actually, and this was an older, I remember it clear as day, cause I was waiting for the pitchforks and torches.
She's got a budget presentation, I think, next week.
It goes back to the same problem, is you
I don't
raise
know.
taxes
I'll
and
call
cut
them
services,
more.
there's nothing worse than that, there's nothing worse than paying more for less.
Well, referendum, I highly doubt the referendum's gonna pass, you know.
No running water in the school.
Wow.
No, that's not because of the referendum.
I know, but
Yeah.
if they're placing that or if they're placing.
No, they're waiting to get the fountains in.
Okay,
Yeah. Was a fountain, you know,
they have no running water,
they have,
drinkable water.
they can get bottled water, all I can do is ask. You know, so the fountains are turned off because they're obsolete, you know, they get a part on a fountain, so they ordered all new ones. 13 for the 2 schools, and then that won't be until June, and then they, once they do that, then they do a lead test, and hopefully we'll be able to use the new fountains. You know, but that's the least of their problems.
No.
They need a new roof over there, they got classrooms that leak, they have AC, yeah. So you're talking millions of dollars. for,
This time it'll
Yeah.
pass.
See what they have in capital reserve.
Middle school, yeah.
Find out
That's the older of the 2 old schools. I mean, the other school is
Mold everywhere.
20 years old now, the new school.
It's 20 years.
20 years,
They
yeah.
did that?
For the record, I was against the idea for that.
One school.
Yeah. Easier to
That
maintain.
they did, I
Yeah.
complained about that and
Wow.
Should go back to one.
What's that?
Should go back to one.
Well, she said, she did say, you know, there's a possibility that if we can't fix the middle school, then she's got room in the elementary school. So.
Don't take the old one, we just got rid of the old school from.
Yeah, we don't want it. Let them sell it.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I
dollar, that, did we ever get the dollar? Or did we ever give him the dollar for that as well?
We'll take the field. We'll take the field.
Repossessed.
We need the fields. Everything else can be sold.
Wow.
No, the gentleman has to bring us, not the land use board, what he wants to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're holding
Because-
John and Andrew, are we done with them? So we
Yeah.
can go?
We had one other thing that we saw in the packet that we don't know is gonna affect the budget or not, something from Finelli.
Oh,
what is that?
oh, yeah,
Sorry.
no, I did see it
Is
in
that for
here,
one of the roads?
Yeah.
$45,000,
Stop
right?
costs for getting those roads.
I just figured we'd be here if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Alright, so we just went from 4.6 to 5.6.
Yeah, about 5.5, 5.4,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the 4.6 option's out.
It looks,
No, not necessarily, because she's gonna come back with a better rate of 1.2.
well,
Sure
We
am.
can raise, you know, it's gonna be at least 46,000, I would imagine. So there'll be
Let's see where it comes.
100.
Yep.
And $46,000.
But we are good with this, at 45 with the 5.6.
Say that again. We are good
We have to
with,
go with the 45,000 Finelli's saying,
right,
we're good with the 5.
right, cause right now we're still at 4.6
Right.
increase, right? If we wanna get it up to the 5.6, at least to cover.
Interest and keep it up.
Yeah, it's a combination of.
Yeah.
Deferred
We'll
school
just have
tax
to
is
know.
45,000.
Well, you know, like I
well,
said,
that little piece I could almost get, cause didn't we steal 50 last year too?
Yeah, I don't wanna touch it.
No, but right, but we did take 50 last year.
I like the philosophy these.
No,
I like the philosophy early on is just keep that as a,
Right.
that's your silver bullet.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like to actually touch it.
Yep.
They always talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, West Side, well, yeah.
What's that?
Right after the-
Yeah, I don't like
10
that.
grand, but maybe also a permanent 15 grand in revenue,
Yeah.
something like that, so.
Yeah.
Okay. No, so I mean, no, it's good. I just wanted to.
No.
Read them up.
Yeah.
Right. I do think though, I won't be here next week's meeting. But I do think if he's, you know, I might try to call him, but I can't make any comment. I think we should discuss and bring up, we're gonna bring the committee and start looking really get involved in this, very easy. I need to plan on everybody and start figuring out what's out there.
Well,
We had people inquiring, and, you know, last month we kind of voted not to meet the developer. But in this is an exception, Mary.
Right.
We have a lot of say on what can and can't go in there and what we want. So I think we should start meeting with people with ideas.
okay, well, Thursday night's the land use board meeting, we can certainly speak to Kendra.
Yeah.
Yeah, see what kind of dates she.
What kind of dates, right, and stuff like that.
And then next Thursday, appoint the subcommittee.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do it, you know, if you discuss it, I will be on it, but if you have too many people want to do it, you put it on whoever you want, so. But, I think we can move on that.
Right.
What is the next meeting you want us at?
Do we have another budget meeting scheduled?
No, you and I discussed.
And do we actually,
All right, we're looking at May.
really, the decisions now are down to kind of us, do we really even need John and Andrew? Are there gonna be, because the only real question that we're gonna ask is the interest rate, how much money? And they don't need to be here to plug that number in, right?
Well, don't.
I always need to understand.
Yeah.
That's
I like the way
gonna be
you
a question we can't-
We would like them in attendance.
Okay, all right, okay.
There's always something. I-
Okay.
So when's your next availability?
It's easier to find out what yours is, cause I'm all over the place,
Okay.
so. We discussed one date,
And
Yeah.
that date is?
I forget offhand,
We were looking,
have it on my calendar somewhere.
yeah, I don't know, maybe
I
it's on
thought it
this
was something at the
phone.
end of April, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we couldn't do that one
Okay.
because of the school budget meeting. So I think John, I talked about.
Yeah, I thought we had like the 26th. Oh wait, the 27th at 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, I remember the 27th being discussed. 26th, I can't make it.
26, that's April.
Yes.
April 27th.
I can make it.
That's good for me. Brian, can you make it?
Paul, you good?
I'm looking right
Melanie,
now,
you good?
I'm in for
the 27th, yeah, I should be fine.
April 27th, it is.
And 6 again?
I'll make
6
myself,
o'clock, is that good for everybody?
Mhm.
no, but I'll make myself available. Yeah, I think I was the only one that couldn't make it. It's okay.
Okay. The 27th at 6 P M. That good for you, John?
Works for me.
Andrew?
All good.
Okay. we'll advertise it.
That was easy.
Yeah, so we did.
See, when we're all together, it's easier. So when you're making those phone calls, hold on, I gotta check it out. No, Bill can't do it that day.
At night?
Yeah, 7, I believe they come in.
What's that?
Rec has their meeting on Thursday here.
It'll be nice out there to go to the park.
Yeah.
And we could go to the park.
No, you know that part. No, we can't. We need to-
Maybe we'll be done by 7,
We could
positive
tell.
thinking.
We
Yeah, no, we
actually,
could,
we actually, theoretically could be done by.
Yeah, we could be done by 7.
Yeah, positive thinking, it's gonna be a good one, it's gonna be fast, we'll be done by 7.
If that's the only thing we're discussing, one of us will be
I
here.
could tell them
We
to
don't-
start at 7:30, we'll just have to change the time.
Yeah.
Right.
One of Andrew will be here.
Or let them sit in for a couple minutes, you know, they
I
can
can
hear
do that too, yeah.
Then they can spread the word. You know?
See how the wheels of this machine work.
Okay, are we good? Anybody have anything else? Did we miss any? Oh, public comment. I make a motion, we open public comment.
Second.
You know, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public wishing to make a statement? Seeing none, motion to close public comment.
I'll make it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We good? Motion to adjourn. Everyone make motion to adjourn?
Make it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
John, Andrew, thank you for everything.